As I'm sure you can tell, this is our old buddy Donald Trump. He did an interview with Bret Baer. Now, Bret Baer is a Fox News host and an extremist. Naturally, you have to be an extremist to be on Fox News pretty much. But Bret Baer seemed to be kind of adversarial in this interview that he did with Trump, fascinatingly. So I wanted to listen to this interview, see what they had to say to each other, because I understand it got heated, and I understand that Trump incriminated himself multiple times in this. So let's give this a listen. This is actually part 2. If you haven't seen the first one, don't sweat it. This stands independently of the rest. I'll provide context if it's necessary. But let's listen to Trump. I know it looks like he's kissing Bret Baer. That's not what's happening here. He's complaining about something, certainly. Let's listen to Trump do his little complaining routine here. Check it out.
Welcome back to Bedminster and Special Report, joined again by the 45th President of the United States.
We do not support Taiwan independence.
Secretary of State Anthony Blinken met with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing.
Dude, what was that? It was just a blink of him saying, "We do not support Taiwan independence." I cannot believe that Anthony Blinken said that, because the United States position on Taiwan is that they do support independence and that the United States would go to war with China if they invaded Taiwan. That's the official position. So they clipped this dude saying that. Now I'm wondering, did Anthony Blinken say, some people say that we do not support Taiwan independence, but we do. Did they clip him out saying that? I have to wonder if this is just a clip chimp.
Beijing. You've been very critical towards Biden administration policy toward China. Today, Blinken said this: "We do not support Taiwan independence." Should Taiwan be independent?
That doesn't sound right. I don't believe that he said that. I should probably look this up, right? Quick interjection. I won't take long. I just wanted to tell you guys, YouTube's algorithm operates off of a few factors: watch time, whether or not you subscribe, and whether or not you like something. So if you really want to help my channel, I would appreciate it if you guys watch the video to the end. If you don't watch it to the end, just watch a little bit longer than you would have otherwise. I would appreciate that very much. All right, let's get back to the video. This is on The Independent. I trust them reasonably well. I think it's a left-leaning British newspaper originally, and for the most part I think they're trustworthy. There are a couple of little things that I question. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken on Monday reiterated decades of U.S. policy toward Taiwan when he said that the U.S. does not support a declaration of independence by the government on that island, which the People's Republic of China considers a rogue province. Right, so the one China policy is that Taiwan is part of China. But the U.S. does, on the other hand, support the Taiwanese government. China is a communist government, ostensibly, and Taiwan is a democratic government. The U.S. has always supported Taiwan. It's been since the Cold War, since it split off, basically, they've always supported Taiwan. So it sounds like he's just reiterating the official U.S. position on Taiwan. That's what it sounds like, which is technically the one China policy, but still support for Taiwan, I guess. Mr. Blinken's statement came during a meeting with Chinese leader Xi Jinping, at which the top U.S. diplomat and the Chinese strongman attempted to smooth over months of tension between Washington and Beijing. A previously scheduled trip to China by the U.S. Secretary of State had been canceled in the wake of the February shoot-down of a spy balloon that U.S. intelligence has said belonged to the PRC. "We do not support Taiwan independence," Mr. Blinken said in public comments. "We remain opposed to any unilateral charges to the status quo by either side." I feel like I need to find this from a different source, because they even misspelled his name. They put Mr. Blink down instead of Blinken. The only sources that I can find on this are from right-wing sources, basically, except The Independent. So it sounds like it was just the U.S.'s attempt to lower tensions between the U.S. and China, which I'm okay with. That's perfectly fine with me, as long as they don't give up on Taiwan. I don't want them to give up on Taiwan. This is from Forbes. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken reiterated the U.S.'s position on its China policy as he met with China's leader Xi Jinping on Monday, saying it does not support Taiwanese independence and that containing China's economy was not an American goal. Speaking to the press at the U.S. Embassy in Beijing, Blinken said all his meetings with top officials in China were constructive and reiterated that competition between the U.S. and China should not veer into conflict. Blinken said the U.S. held a one-China policy and does not support Taiwanese independence, but is concerned about China's provocative actions along the Taiwan Strait. So, basically, what was implied by Bret Baer and Fox News and all these other whatever is that the U.S. officially believes that China should invade Taiwan, when that's not actually the position. It's a one-China policy. It's not different than it has ever been. They do not stand for Taiwan being invaded by China. And according to Biden and official U.S. policy, the U.S. would step in, intervene in any military conflict with Taiwan. You know, nothing has changed on that front. It sounds like they're just, it sounds like they're clip chimping him. They're trying to make it sound like he believes this thing when he simply does not.
So
let's just step back and listen to that context one more time.
China. Today, Blinken said this: we do not support Taiwan independence. Should Taiwan be independent?
What was the context there? Is he really not going to give us any context? I mean, I know the context. We just listened to it, but he's very obviously just trying to, like, attack the Biden administration, right? You know what? At least the Republican Party is supporting Taiwan. We can take that as a win, right?
So if I tell you an answer, it's going to hurt me in negotiations on the
Really? Going to hurt you in negotiations?
assumption that I win. But I have a very good relationship with President Xi. After COVID came in, I sort of didn't want the relationship, and I sort of ended the relationship after having made one of the greatest trade deals ever made, including USMCA.
Dude, this guy is such a fucking joke. Trump is a joke. He's a joke of a human being, and basically everybody sees that. He's an embarrassment to humanity. How he won a primary, I will never know. Seriously. It's painful to know that he represented our country at one point.
Mexico, Canada, but I made deals with Japan. I made deals with many countries. We had the worst trade deals. Now we have the best trade deals.
No.
By the way, USMCA, Canada, and Mexico, it's so good because we replaced NAFTA, which everybody said, you even said, be impossible to end it. I got it terminated by Congress, actually, and got USMCA. It's so good now that Mexico and Canada, by the way. Mexico, well, it's a long time ago, but Mexico and Canada, it's so good they want to renegotiate the deal. I hope they don't do that. I hope we don't agree to that. But I made the best trade deal with China, $50 billion.
So what Trump is saying here, this is all standard Republican stuff. Trump just negotiated, well, Trump's administration negotiated a trade deal with him at the head. That doesn't mean that Trump negotiated it personally or that he got any wins that any other person wouldn't have gotten. It's just nonsense.
The best trade deal with China, $50 billion a year, where they have to buy from us.
Yeah, that's what China takes from us. That's not us taking all of that money.
We got $28 billion from China to give to our farmers because our farmers were treated badly.
So would you keep the China tariffs on?
I would keep the China tariffs on.
What would take them off?
No, I'd keep them on, absolutely. It's a tremendous power thing. You keep them on. China was dying over the tariffs. I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China.
Okay, tariffs don't come from China. If you put tariffs on China, then it's the Americans that are paying those tariffs. A tariff is just a tax that is applied to goods that you purchase from outside the country. So if you put tariffs on China, anytime somebody buys something from China, they have to pay a huge tax on it. That's what a tariff is. China doesn't pay a dime. He has no idea what a tariff even is or how it works, apparently. How did this guy become president? Seriously.
China tariffs on?
I would keep the China tariffs
What would
on.
take them off?
No, I'd keep them on, absolutely. It's a tremendous power thing. You keep them on. China was dying over the tariffs. I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. No other president has ever taken 10 cents. I watched Gordon Chang the other night say the only one that was tough on China, so tough that frankly he couldn't believe it, was Donald Trump.
So the question is,
it's
would
not
you,
Just ridiculous, dude.
tough.
if China
It's being
invaded
smart.
Taiwan, would you go to war to
I
defend
don't
Taiwan?
want to say that because that hurts me in negotiations with regard to President Xi. Now,
So he's saying that he doesn't want to like come out and tell anybody like if he would support going to war over Taiwan. The official U.S. position is yes, they would go to war over. I'm sorry, did I say Iran? I'm sorry, I meant Taiwan. The U.S. would go to war with China or anybody to protect Taiwan. That is the official position.
he knows what I do. And by the way, for 4 years, they didn't invade Taiwan, and they never even talked about it. You'll find very few discussions about it. And for 4 years, Russia never even thought about it because Putin.
What, we're talking about Russia now? I thought we were talking about China. What the hell is going on?
and I had a very good relationship, business relationship, but I got along with him and he got along with me despite the phony Russia witch hunt, which made it much more difficult. Having that phony Adam Schiff, Hillary Clinton witch hunt for 2.5 years going on made it much more difficult. Despite that, he knew he could not go into Ukraine. I told him very strongly, you can't do it. And if you do it, it's going to be a problem. And he never did.
I want to talk about Ukraine, but just to end on China, this weekend President Biden, speaking of that Chinese spy balloon, said this.
I think it was more embarrassing than it was intentional.
Okay, that doesn't make any sense, dude. These people are clipping out the most confusing 2-second clips that I've ever seen in my life. It was like mid-sentence for that one. What the hell did Biden actually say? What was he actually talking about? God, Fox News knows how to clip something out dishonestly, don't they? I can't find any source on this that isn't from, like, a right-wing source. Okay, I think I've found the quote, but from what I can tell, it's not even about... Okay, so this is an article written June 22nd, 2023. So I'm guessing it's about this subject here. Candor, gaffe, Biden spills on Xi at campaign fundraiser. I don't think the leadership knew where it was and knew what was in it and knew what was going on, Biden told reporters. I think it was more embarrassing than it was intentional. What is he referring to? The dictator part, wait, Biden's remarks immediately, hang on, all right, let's just start from the top here. Biden just added an entry to the list of eyebrow-raising comments that he's made while in campaign mode, this time calling Chinese President Xi Jinping a dictator and claiming the communist leader was initially kept in the dark about the spy balloon incident in February. The reason why Xi Jinping got very upset in terms of when I shot that balloon down with 2 boxcars full of spy equipment in it is he didn't know it was there. No, I'm serious, Biden said. That's what's a great embarrassment for dictators, when they don't know what happened. Ah, I see. So Biden was saying it was more embarrassing for China than it was intentional for China. China didn't even realize that, like, the balloon was up there. Or Xi Jinping didn't realize the balloon was up there. The spy equipment. So that's what he meant when he said it's more embarrassing than intentional. But, of course, Fox News is going to take that clip, and they're going to make it out as though Biden was saying it was embarrassing for the United States, instead of he was actually talking about China.
Biden, speaking of that Chinese spy balloon, said this.
I think it was more embarrassing than it was intentional.
What do you think about that?
I think it's such a stupid
What would you have
statement.
done?
He doesn't know what he's... They wouldn't have ever had a spy balloon if I was president. There wouldn't be a spy balloon over our country. That spy balloon was going right over our nuclear sites, taking pictures, and we killed it after it was leaving. It was going back home to China, wherever it was going.
Yep, that's true. That is accurate. It was flying over sensitive sites, and it is extremely concerning. I'm not a fan of the whole balloon thing. Not a fan of the fact that it was here at all. So, yeah, That I guess you could say that's accurate. I'm glad that the U.S. shot it down. I think that was the right decision. We'll put it that way.
But we shot it down over the ocean after it had done all of its work. You know,
And then we recovered it. I mean, does he realize that we recovered the balloon, or does he not know that?
you don't keep it on the balloon and then you pick it up. That stuff is sent back to China instantaneously as it's taken. So
What?
a statement like that is so stupid. They've taken pictures of every one of our nuclear facilities in the Midwest, where we have a lot.
Well, we have the Minuteman missile stuff there. That, I mean, it's a known fact that we keep our missiles there. In fact, I could be wrong. I think that the U.S. is open to United Nations inspectors, like weapons inspectors. I think any country that has nuclear arms is subject to nuclear arm inspections or something to that effect. I could be wrong on that point, so don't quote me on it. But yeah, I mean, it's not a big secret where the U.S. keeps the missiles. So, and yeah, China did fly a balloon over that. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan.
They know better than anybody that we have a lot.
And you're saying that wouldn't happen under you?
They wouldn't have ever done it, no. They wouldn't have ever done it, no.
God, he's such a joke.
President Xi and I had a very strong relationship, just like I did with Kim Jong-un of North Korea. Look, when I took office, everyone assumed we were going to war with North Korea, including President Obama. He said the single biggest problem we have in the world today is North Korea.
Well, let me tell you something about North Korea, something that Trump probably doesn't even realize, but North Korea, Kim Jong-un, has been trying to get a meeting with a U.S. president to legitimize himself and what he's doing and everything for decades. He's been trying to get meetings for like a long, long time. But no U.S. president would ever meet with him because they didn't want to legitimize his beliefs and, you know, his actions and what he was doing and all that other stuff. And then Trump comes along and he says, you know what? Sure, I'll meet with Kim Jong-un. Why not? And then was the first U.S. president to step over into North Korea in 60 years or something. Just for a second, he pretended he didn't realize he wasn't supposed to cross that line, but I'm sure he was just doing it because he wanted to be named like the first president in so long to do it. I'm sure of it. Anyway, everything that Trump does is for attention. Every single thing. And so was the North Korea stuff. No deals were made. No agreements were, arranged or treaties signed or any of that with North Korea. It was a gigantic waste of time for everybody because they couldn't come to a deal. It was all about Donald Trump looking cool and special and fantastic and the first president in so long. Blah, 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 blah. The other presidents didn't do it because it was a waste of their time. They didn't want to legitimize it.
I said, have you called him? And I got sort of a mixed answer. The answer is he did call, but Kim Jong-un wouldn't see them, okay? Tough guy, smart guy, tough guy.
No, they were, Kim Jong-un would have seen any president that'll see him. He wanted their attention, like, desperately. Nobody would give it to him, except for this dumbass right here. I'm sorry, I try not to insult people, but I feel like I make an exception for Trump. Except for this guy right here, this poor fool.
I got along with him, and there was no threat.
You think that's something to be proud of?
Did an amazing job. That would have been a war. If Obama would have stayed, or if Hillary Clinton would
Did he say Obama?
have been in a little bit longer, if they would have extended his term miraculously, but if Hillary Clinton would have gone, you would have had a nuclear war with North Korea. And by
Ridiculous. Give me a break. Does anybody Does anybody actually believe this nonsense from Trump? I guess his followers do.
North Korea. And by the way, you're possibly very close right now. This is the most dangerous time in the history of our country. You're possibly very close to having a nuclear war with Russia.
All right, let's talk about Russia. You said you would end the Russia-Ukraine war in 24 hours.
That's right.
Your GOP opponents, they don't believe that. Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie said this. Despite how ridiculous that is to say, I suspect he would try to do it by turning Ukraine over to Putin.
Yeah. He's even said this, Trump has. He said he would end it by withdrawing any aid going to Ukraine and then forcing them to make a deal. Now, Ukraine has no choice but to make a deal or die. That's it. Honestly, this is the best money the U.S. has ever spent, the funding that we're sending over to Ukraine right now. Best money we've ever spent. And Trump is, threatening to withdraw it. Why? Why would Trump not want to assist in taking down one of the biggest adversaries the U.S. has had for 100 years? Because he likes Putin, of course.
And Russia. How would
Excuse
you?
me,
How
Chris-
would you do that?
Okay, ready? Number one, Chris Christie, who I know very well, he got out of New Jersey after the Bridgegate scandal, which was a mess.
Again, he's trying his hardest to destroy Chris Christie's reputation. Yeah, Chris Christie did do Bridgegate. That's bad. He basically closed down a bridge, closed down the New Jersey side of, I think, the George Washington Bridge into New York City. I don't remember. And it caused this massive pileup, this huge mess. And it was all political retaliation against people that he didn't like, basically. Now, Chris Christie claims that it was people that he put in charge that did it, not actually him. And when he found out about it, he put a stop to it. Who knows? I think Christie probably knew. But either way, Christie is dramatically better than Donald Trump in pretty much every single way. So, yeah, Trump can, bring up Christie's scandals all he wants, but Trump is significantly worse than Christie. It's all whataboutism. What about what he did? What about this? What about that?
He got out of New Jersey with a 9% approval rating, and most people say it was less than that, okay?
That doesn't sound right. I don't think he had a 9% approval rating. Has any approval rating ever been that low in history? Let's find out. This is one of the most searched questions on Google, apparently. It popped right up. Okay, he had a 15% approval rating. That's still extremely low. I am very surprised. According to Politico, it was 15% when he left. Wow. I didn't realize it was that low. It wasn't 9, though. I mean, it's little things. This is how it works. This is how they propagandize. They start with a position, and then they just push it little by little. Just move it over just a hair. They make it seem not quite as bad as it was, or just a little bit worse than it was, and then they try to justify the things that they say and do and believe.
No, he wouldn't be the right guy to do it, but I am. I got along with Zelensky very well because he came up with the impeachment hoax #1. He come up, you know what he said? No, I wasn't threatened at all. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, okay, if you guys don't remember this, if you're watching this 5 years in the future, it wasn't a hoax, but Trump likes to link the word hoax to things, impeachment hoax, Mueller hoax. Those things were real. The Mueller probe really did prove that Trump colluded with Russia, but that's neither here nor there. The Ukraine impeachment was real. If you're watching this years down the line, we were sending aid to Ukraine. Trump tried to force Ukrainian prosecutors to investigate Hunter Biden. Why? Because Hunter Biden was going to be the son of Trump's political opponent, and he knew that. This is all well established. That is the reason why he held up aid, so that he could hurt his political opponent. Aid that was already promised. It was against the law for Trump to hold this aid up in the first place. That's why there was an impeachment. Because Trump broke the law to corrupt Ukraine even further. And Zelensky didn't want to get involved in any of this. He didn't want anything to do with it, understandably. A political mess in the United States? He didn't want to be tangled up here or risk losing aid. It was the intelligent decision to make for his country. But anyways, the first impeachment, that was real. And so was the second.
When they said, were you threatened by President Trump? He was very good. He could have grandstanded and said, well, I felt a little bit threatened. No, he wasn't threatened at all. And
No, he was, actually. He was. He just didn't want to get involved.
He said it very loud and I got along with him very well. I respected him for that. Because frankly, he could have done a grandstand and, you know, maybe look good, maybe look bad, I don't know, but he could have done something different. He said, I was never threatened. That was a very nice conversation. I called him up to congratulate him. And with Putin, I have a very good relationship. I mean, I haven't spoken to him in a long while, but I had a very strong relationship
But
with
was
Putin.
he wrong to invade Ukraine?
He wouldn't have done it if it were me.
But it
He
was the
did
wrong
that
move.
after I left. I thought he might do it. Look, I talked to him. I said, if you do it, there's going to be hell to pay. It's going to be a catastrophe. Don't do it. He said, no, 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 you won't do that. I told him I was going to do something. He said, no, 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 you will not do that. I said, I will, Vladimir.
Like, you don't know if Trump is, like, completely full of it or not. You never know if he's lying or not. It's so hard to tell, you know? Did he really have this conversation with Putin? Putin suggested that maybe he would go into Ukraine. You have to wonder, is this real? And then Trump said, don't do it? I mean, I doubt Trump said, don't do it.
Something. He said, no, 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 you will not do that. I said, I will, Vladimir, I will do it. I'm going to do it.
That Vladimir, he calls him Vladimir, apparently. They're close friends. He's on a first-name basis. I will, Vladimir, I'll do it. I don't know if you guys were aware of this, but Volodymyr Zelensky, that's his name. Volodymyr is the Ukrainian version of Vladimir. Putin and Zelensky have the same first name. Also, Vlad, V-L-A-D, is not the nickname for Vladimir. I think, I don't remember. Somebody can correct me in the comments or the live chat or something. I think the nickname Vlad is for people that have the name Vladislav or something. The nickname for Vladimir is actually Vova, V-O-V-A. That's the proper nickname. So Putin's nickname is actually Vova, V-O-V-A. Little fun fact for you there. Let's keep listening.
Do that. I said, I will, Vladimir, I will do it. I'm going to do it.
He's such a fucking joke, dude. I swear to God. Trump is the biggest joke on planet Earth.
And you know what? He didn't
Take
believe
off.
me. Whatever. It was pretty bad. And he didn't believe me at all, except for maybe 10%. And 10% is all you needed. There was no threat. It was only after I left that you started hearing about this.
But you believe
I will
Ukraine
tell
is
you,
a separate country from Russia.
yeah, right. It's a separate country,
so
but at
should
one
Putin-
point it wasn't a separate
Right. Should
country.
Putin
and
have
and
Crimea?
Putin liked it that way better.
Is that part of the deal? Should Putin get Crimea?
Well,
Is that
right,
what you?
Right now, I don't talk about those deals because it really would impede a negotiation.
No, it wouldn't. Talk about your position. You know how you negotiate. Trump knows this. He's done plenty of negotiating, right? This is how you start out a negotiation. You start off by holding a position way far off in the distance from where you want. So you want Russia to make a deal with Ukraine where Russia gets the DPK, or no, DNR and LNR is what they are, Luhansk and Donetsk regions, and then Ukraine keeps the rest. If that's the position you're starting from, which I don't think, Ukraine should have all of Ukraine, but that's neither here nor there. If you want to, if you want to eventually reach that point with the deal, then you start out by saying you want Russia completely out and you want Ukraine to have all of their territory. You start out with a position far off in the distance from where you actually want. That's how negotiations work. You want $30 an hour, you have to start at $50 an hour and negotiate your way down. Trump knows this full well. So where is Trump starting in his negotiation? If he was actually intelligent and actually wanted Ukraine to win this, this skirmish, this conflict, Trump would say he wants Russia out completely. He would start there. But he doesn't. Honestly, I don't know that Trump even cares if Russia takes Ukraine over. He just wants dictators to like him. And guess what? Zelensky's not a dictator. Putin is. Any dictators he can get to like him, he'll take it.
But I'm telling you, within 24 hours, that's what I did. I became very rich by doing deals. Very rich. And you know what? Much more so than people even understand.
No, he didn't get rich by doing deals. He got rich by taking his dad's money from him. You know that Trump would be richer today if he had done nothing with his dad's money but put it in the stock market? If he had just invested it instead of like whatever the hell it is he did with his money.
And that's what I do. I would have a deal done in 24 hours from the time we started. And I would tell Zelensky something, and I would tell Putin something, and I'd get him into a room, and I'd tell him again and again. I would have a deal done very quickly.
No. He would just hand Ukraine over to Russia is what he would actually do.
And you know what? The death would stop, and the destruction would stop. Because look.
And, of course, you can do that by handing Ukraine over to Russia, right? Stopping the death. Of course, you won't have a sovereign country, and you will have shown Putin that he can throw a fit and get what he wants. He can invade any country and keep it if he wants to, but got to break some eggs, I suppose, right?
Ukraine has been wiped out.
Under your administration, the U.S. did not go to war.
Right. First time in 78 years.
Well, he didn't start new wars. Is that what he means?
See a scenario where you would go to war if Iran, for example, got a nuclear weapon?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, we would have had a great deal with Iran. I was getting very close to Iran. We would have had a deal done with Iran within 2 weeks after the election.
2 weeks after the election. Oh, it was just out of reach. But you didn't elect me again, so close. Ridiculous. We had a deal with Iran to prevent them from getting a nuclear weapon. And Trump tore that deal up. He destroyed it. Why? Because it was part of the Republican talking point. The Iran deal is worthless. These people are an embarrassment. How do they live with themselves? And why did they create a culture war issue out of the Iran deal, honestly?
They wouldn't have had a nuclear weapon, and they would have been very happy. Everybody would have been happy. I terminated that horrible thing called the Iran nuclear deal, one of the dumbest deals I've ever seen.
No, the Iran nuclear deal was phenomenally good, and it was negotiated by John Kerry, as a matter of fact. It was a really, really good deal, and guaranteed that Iran would not create a nuclear weapon anytime in the near future. You know why that matters? There was a coup against Russia recently. I don't know if you guys are watching this 5 years in the future or if you're paying attention to politics or what, but there was a full-blown, real, actual coup in Russia recently. They made it within like 100, 150 miles, maybe 200 miles of the Kremlin, of Moscow. They were close. They were so close that it freaked Putin out, to the point that I believe the Russian Air Force One took off, left the area. I believe Putin fled. That's the speculation right now. We got to wait for more information. Problem is, the people that were doing the coup were the Wagner Group, or Wagner, as it's pronounced, I think, actually, led by a Russian oligarch. And the Wagner Group is basically a bunch of Nazis, effectively. It used to be Putin's private army. What would happen is it's run by one of Putin's close personal friends. What they do is Putin would send Wagner Group in to commit war crimes, do horrific stuff, so that Putin had a layer of plausible deniability. No, I didn't stand for those war crimes. I didn't believe in bombing those apartment buildings. I didn't believe in this or that or whatever. That's how Putin maintained that air of, or that lack of responsibility for the horrific stuff done in wars. It's about 25,000 people strong, give or take. I think it varies from 25,000 to 50,000, depending on what's happening or if they have a lot of recruits or whatever else. And Putin sends them from location to location to fill gaps that the Russian military is having trouble filling. So, like I said, it's made up largely of Nazis and criminals. They pardon the criminals if they survive 6 months, basically. It's a big wall of cannon fodder, effectively. So anyways, the Wagner Group made it within 200 miles of Moscow, really. They were close. I could not believe that this was happening. They were so close that they freaked Putin out to the point that he fled the Kremlin. And then just like that, as quickly as they came in and took over towns, they made a deal with Putin and left just as quickly, just as easily. It was bizarre to see. I have no idea what happened, but some of the things that, what's his name? Prigozhin, I think is his name. Prigozhin? I forget how it's pronounced. Some of the things that the leader, Prigozhin, said has gotten people killed before. Has had plutonium put in their tea. Pushed out a window. No joke. So I have to imagine that Putin didn't make a deal with them to leave the country. I would bet anything that Putin, he didn't say anything for hours. I would bet that what Putin did was he took those few hours while that coup was taking place to gather up the relatives of the top 50 people in the Wagner group and kill their firstborn children and tell him if he doesn't turn around and leave right now, he's going to kill the rest of them too. I'm guessing that's probably what happened or something similar. Here's the point that I was getting at. Back to the Iran nuclear deal. Sorry, I got off subject here. Russia has nuclear weapons, right? We've known about that for a long time. Russia has nuclear weapons. What happens if full-blown Nazis take control? Russia is not a stable government right now at all. It's a dictatorship, and dictatorships always have gaps. There's always somebody waiting in the wings to take control. What happens when Nazis take control? Because there is no real concern right now in Russia of a progressive, more left-wing group taking control of Russia away from Putin. There's no concern of that. The concern is right-wing extremists taking control. What happens when Nazis get the nuclear arms and take Putin out? Russia has weapons that could destroy the planet, kill everybody. What happens when Nazis get a hold of them? I mean real Nazis. That's why we need to stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons. Will this administration kill people with it? Will this administration launch these weapons, these nukes at, countries all willy-nilly? Probably not. What about the next ones? What about the next nutcases that take out, commit a coup and take out the Iranian leadership? Are they going to try to bomb Israel? Because there's a lot of anti-Semitism running through the ranks of higher-ups in Iran. What's their first move? And how long is it going to be before some insane dictator thinks to himself, you know what, if I'm not here, why do I care about anything else? When I die, I'm just going to hit the button and nuke the entire planet. What happens when somebody of that mindset gets into power? That's why we want to limit the number of people who have access to nuclear weapons. Because who knows what these nutcases are going to do? Who knows what they're thinking? And the Iran nuclear deal negotiated by John Kerry actually did that. It actually prevented Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, from building one. They shut down their nuclear program. And what happened when Trump took office? They started it up all over again. They ripped the deal up because Trump ripped the deal up. That's what happens. Now, if Iran gets a nuclear weapon, Trump is to blame for that. When they get a nuclear weapon, that's Trump's fault. That's Trump's doing. If they nuke Israel, that was Trump's fault.
Dumbest deals I've ever seen. I've seen some dumb ones. NAFTA was bad. They were all bad. The dumbest one was the Iran nuclear deal.
No, the Iran nuclear deal, it's Iran, not Iran, but Iran, the Iran nuclear deal, basically had a bunch of sanctions on Iran, like originally. Like the U.S. had sanctions on Iran, really, really restrictive ones too. Like almost as bad as North Korea, I think, or even worse. We were holding billions of dollars in their money in the U.S. We had frozen the accounts of their government and some of the top people in Iran, the richest people. And as part of the deal, they would allow U.S. inspectors in to check their facilities to make sure that they are not enriching uranium past a certain percentage. They're allowed to up to a certain point for nuclear power purposes, but you can't just enrich uranium without people not knowing about it. It's not that easy. And you can't hide how pure you're making it either. So we send our inspectors in to check on it every 3 months or something. Impossible for Iran to hide it at that point. Impossible. We knew for a fact that they were not, enriching it or creating nuclear weapons. And in response, we release Iran's money. We allow them access to it. We lift some of the sanctions. It's a really, really good deal, actually. And what did Trump do? Canceled the deal. Why? What was the point? He did it because it was an accomplishment that Obama got done under his watch. That's it. That's why he talks poorly about the Iran deal constantly. So it was an accomplishment by Obama.
Billions of dollars in cash was brought over to Iran in Boeing 757s.
Well, we were giving their money back.
Just handed billions, cash.
It wasn't our money. It was Iran's money.
I mean green cash. Remember one thing about that deal, it expired in a short period of time. It expired. And that gave them an open road.
No, it wasn't expired. It renewed every so often. That's different.
To having nuclear weapons. People thought like this Iran nuclear deal that was done by Obama was like a good deal. It was so terrible. But remember this.
It was not terrible. It was actually a good deal that would prevent an already extreme country from getting nuclear weapons. I mean, who knows how much more extreme Iran could get in the future. And it prevented them from getting nuclear weapons. No longer, of course. Now they are enriching uranium beyond the point that they're supposed to. They shredded the deal. Thank you, Trump, for that.
It expired in just about now. It expired. And once it expired, they had the right to do anything. I terminated that deal, was on my way to making an unbelievable deal where they don't have nuclear weapons. The other thing I think, doing very well with China and Russia, getting rid of nuclear weapons. I was making a lot of progress on that until the election.
And you think that's all gone away?
I think he can come
He wasn't making any progress on any of this stuff. He's just completely full of shit.
back, but it certainly went away quickly.
One of the people,
Because
one of the
this current
countries.
administration doesn't have the capability to do it. They don't have the capability to do it. They don't have a clue. The Chinese, very smart. This is a very smart country. They own us.
China is a very smart country, and they owned everybody. Okay, that doesn't sound right, but whatever.
Owned every president, including presidents that I liked. But remember this, I took in hundreds of billions of dollars. I put a 50% tax on a tariff on, tax or tariff, you can call it either one, but I put a tariff on steel.
You can't call it either one. It's either a tax or a tariff. I mean, they are different words for a reason. You have different words that mean different things.
If I didn't do that, you wouldn't have any steel mills. If I didn't do that, you wouldn't have washing machines in the United States being made anymore.
One of the countries that's very
You wouldn't have washing machines being made in the United States anymore? Are you kidding me?
concerned, obviously, about Iran and its nuclear ambitions is Saudi Arabia.
Sure.
What do you make of the Biden administration policy to Saudi Arabia?
I think it's terrible. We've lost Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, they're friends of mine. They're great people.
No, it's a dictatorship. They're not, quote unquote, great people that lead Saudi Arabia. They're terrible, actually. Awful. Awful people. Mohammed Bonesaw Salman, I think is his name. Mohammed bin Salman is the leader of Saudi Arabia right now, I think. And he famously killed a Washington Post journalist, sawed him into pieces, and carried him out in a barrel or something. They're not good people.
The crown prince and the king, I got along with them incredibly good. They would do anything. They are great, great people.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me got along well with them. No, they're not great people. They're fucking monsters, actually.
But they've actually gone over to China now, if you think about it. Think of it. It
What the hell does that even mean?
was even unthinkable. If somebody suggested it during my administration, nobody would take it even seriously. Saudi Arabia's really gone over to China. China's protecting them now. We have lost Saudi Arabia.
I don't know what that means. They've gone over to China? China is protecting them now? What?
Biden goes over and does a fist pump with the king. Now he's the king, the future king of Saudi Arabia. You know what a fist bump is? Don't touch my hands because they're dirty. So he tells him, don't touch my hands because your hands are dirty. Let's do a fist pump. And he does a fist pump. Do you know how insulted they were by that?
They were insulted by it, huh? You think they were insulted? Tell me how insulted they were by it, Donald. Just embarrassing, dude.
Look.
God, I cannot believe that the country was run by this guy. Seriously. Complete embarrassment. At least the national nightmare is over now. At least for the moment. We'll see if that sticks.
We have people that are stupid running our country.
You don't say.
This is the most dangerous time in the history, in my opinion, in the history of our country, in the history of the world. Because
I don't know. No, not even close. There were some other far more dangerous times in U.S. history or even in world history. There was that whole, oh my God, that thing that happened in the 30s and 40s. Nazis. Yeah, there was that whole thing, right? Then there was World War I. Are you forgetting about those, Trump?
because of the power of weaponry. This is the most unbelievably dangerous time because of nuclear weapons and other things, by
As if nuclear weapons didn't exist in World War II. I guess he completely forgot about that, huh?
the way. We have incompetent people running our country in the most dangerous time. Now, little articles come out, just like two sentences long, that they spotted Russia sending nuclear weapons to Belarus. Little article, like 2 sentences.
No, I don't think that was in an article. I think Russia said that they were sending their weapons to Belarus openly, didn't they? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure that Russia announced that they were doing that.
I said, that's a big thing. See, that's a big thing. That's so big. Can't allow that to happen. That's so big.
So what would you have done?
What's going to happen? He wouldn't have done it with me.
Right, because you're a close friend of Vladimir Putin, right? So he doesn't want to hurt your feelings, so he's not going to put you in a tough position. God, dude, how did Trump ever get elected? And what's more, how did he gain such a cult following? It's crazy.
Putin wouldn't have done it with me, but that's the difference. Hard to explain that to people. You know, you can do more if you have the right president by phone calls and quick meetings than you can by having all these so-called geniuses all over the place that don't know what they're doing.
On Saudi Arabia, what do you say to the critics who say you're too close to them, that you're getting a lot of money from Live Golf, playing at your golf courses, and that there are billions of dollars of investment with your son-in-law, Jared Kushner? And
Oh, absolutely. I talked about this recently, but just think about this for a second, okay? You know how many billionaires there are on planet Earth? Not many. 2,640. Now, you know how much it was when Trump was in office? 2,639. When Trump left office, one of those 2,639 billionaires, namely the Saudi Arabian billionaires, turned Donald Trump's son-in-law, one of Trump's, staff, basically, Jared Kushner, turned him into one of those 2,639 people. Now it's 2,640. Saudi Arabia gave Jared Kushner $2 billion. $2 billion. Why? What did he get that money for? What did he do for Saudi Arabia that was worth $2 billion to them? I mean, do you know how long it takes to count to 1 million? It takes 11 days. Do you know how long it takes to do you know how long it takes to count to 1 billion? 31 years. The difference between 1 million and 1 billion proportionally is the same as the difference between 1,000 and 1 million. $1,000 and $1 million. What did Jared Kushner do to get $1 billion from Saudi Arabia? That is an amount of money that only a few thousand people in human history have ever seen. And they just gave it to him just because, apparently. We're supposed to believe that it was just because they like him, because they think he's neat. Why did they give this dude so much money? And I'm sorry, it wasn't even 1 billion. I'm misrepresenting. This wasn't 1,000 times more. It was 2,000 times more because they gave him $2 billion. Really? Really think about this. Anyways, I don't know what Jared Kushner did to get $2 billion from Saudi Arabia, but I'm sorry. Something tells me it wasn't advertising for them, or it wasn't like, I don't know. Like, what else do people get paid for? That's how I get paid, advertising. It wasn't doing their plumbing work for them. I would bet anything he wasn't building a house or doing electrical work or some other thing like that. I don't know what Jared Kushner did, but I can't see a situation in which it was not like corrupt dealing. Jared Kushner has taken advantage of his position that he held under Trump in any way he could and got $2 billion. More than that, actually. I think he got multiple payments. One was $2 billion. One was like 600 and something thousand. I don't remember now. A lot of money passed into this dude's hands from Saudi Arabia.
Investment with your son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and daughter Ivanka. What do you say?
So I say proudly that I'm the only president. I expected I'd lose $1 billion or $2 billion. It's probably more than that by being president. I lost billions of dollars by not doing deals in Saudi Arabia. I could have
Oh, bullshit.
done hotels in Saudi Arabia. I could have done hotels in the Middle East. They offered me, I turned down one deal for $2 billion, net, nothing to do. Just use the name Trump and build your job and this and that. I would have, $2 billion, I turned it down.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't believe it for a second. I don't believe a word out of this guy's mouth, but certainly not the idea that he would turn down a chance to make more money. No chance. Dude heard the word NFT and was like, yeah, I'll take it. I understand it's a scam. I'm doing it anyways. And he released his own NFTs. Seriously. Just absurd, man. He's a joke.
Because I said it was inappropriate for us to do it.
Donald Trump, the, what would you call? The arbiter of morality. The ultimate sense of moral justice. Absolutely.
I said it was inappropriate for us to do it. I told my kids who are good kids, and they're working kids, they're not scam artists.
No, they're scam artists. That's kind of a weird thing for him to bring up. Did anybody call them scam artists? Like, what? Just, God, dude. This guy is shameless, right?
I told my kids who are good kids, and they're working kids, they're not scam artists. I told Don and Eric, we don't want to do any deals, and Ivanka. I don't want to do any deals. I just don't want to we got a lot of stuff. Just run it properly like this. Run it properly. I don't want to do deals because any deal I do is going to be perceived as being in conflict.
Well, there was a ton of conflict of interest with Donald Trump. Are you kidding me? He violated the emoluments clause by taking gifts from Saudi Arabia originally. Like back in, I think, 2019 or something. I don't remember when it was. He thinks he's the paragon. That's the word I was looking for. He thinks he's the paragon of moral justice or the paragon of morality. What? Are we talking about the same person here?
Then all of a sudden I start to see the stuff that Biden's done, where he's going around scamming every country.
What?
He goes to a country and then millions of dollars shows up into accounts. And these aren't deals. This is cash coming in. And here's the...
Yeah, he's completely full of it. What he's talking about right now is the fact that Hunter Biden owned stake in a company in China. Trump owns stake in companies in China too. Like every rich person owns stake in foreign economies. It's a wise decision to make sure that you're diversified, basically. So Hunter Biden owned some stake in a Chinese company that was eventually sold off, and he received the payments for the stake that he sold. And, it was worth like, what, $1 million or $2 million. Not $2 billion, I'll tell you that much. And he got that money, and now Trump is claiming, since Hunter Biden received that payment from investments that he had, claiming that Joe Biden corruptly took money from China or some other nonsense.
Most disappointing thing. The press doesn't want to cover it.
It's because it's fake. It's fictitious. It only exists in your head.
Jamie Comer and Jim Jordan and that whole...
Jamie Comer. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I remember Jamie Comer. James Comer. Yeah, he's a congressman.
Cover it. Jamie Comer and Jim Jordan and that whole group, they're doing an incredible job. You take a look at...
It's the Judiciary Committee on the House, is what he's talking about, the House of Representatives. They are investigating Hunter Biden. Like, I give a shit about Hunter Biden, seriously. Like, move on with your lives. He's not involved in the presidency in any way. If he did something illegal, do something about it. Charge him with the crime. I don't care. But they have to, like, obsess over Hunter Biden. You know why? Because it draws attention away from Trump. That's why.
The amount of writing done on the millions and millions of dollars coming out of China and other countries like, Ukraine, into the Biden family. And in all fairness...
Well, it's all made up. I just want to make that clear. I know I'm stopping every 3 seconds. I want to make sure everybody understands. This is made up. Biden isn't getting money from Ukraine. It never happened.
And in all fairness to Fox, other than you, there's basically nobody that
I
reports
just want
on
to
it.
rewind. Did you just praise Fox?
I did. I gave you a good little...
Thank you. Yeah, we have been covering
No,
that.
you do
pretty
cover it. No,
significantly.
I give you...
Would you want
credit.
Jared and Ivanka to serve in a second administration?
No, I said that's enough for the family. You know why?
I know why. Because Ivanka said she wants nothing to do with it anymore. She's done. That's why. That's why Trump is not involving her anymore. She walked away. Wisely, I would say.
It's too painful for the family. My family's been through hell. I mean,
And whose fault is that?
Eric, my son, who's a fine boy, you know him very well. He's a fine young man.
No, he's a scumbag, just like you, but okay.
Good student, good everything, comes in, we're doing beautifully. Then I decide to run for president.
Wait, Eric Trump? Isn't Eric Trump like 50 or something? Yeah, he's not a student, hasn't been a student in years. What do you mean he's a student?
I mean, I don't think anybody in the world in history has ever had more subpoenas sent to him. Nobody has been through what my family has been through.
Just nonsense.
Ivanka had a really successful line of clothing. I mean, making a fortune. When I did this, she closed it up. She sort of felt she had to, but she closed it up. My other boys were doing great. And I said, instead of let's take advantage of being president, I mean, some people would say that's stupid because everyone else has done it. Nancy Pelosi is worth $125 million, I read.
Okay, that's not because Nancy Pelosi took advantage of her position as a member of the House of Representatives any more than anybody else did. It's because her husband is, what is he? He's like the president of the New York Stock Exchange or something like that. I don't remember what he is, Paul Pelosi. He's really high up in the stock market. He's connected to it in some way. I don't remember how. Anyways, that's where a lot of her money came from, investments. And I think it's reasonable to say that she probably profited off of information that she got as a member of the House. That's fair. and it's wrong. But that's not like a normal thing, and it certainly shouldn't be a normal thing. And it shouldn't be used as a justification for Trump to do that thing. That's what he's doing right now, justifying being corrupt. You caught that, right? He said everybody does it. Why can't I do it? Because it's wrong.
And she never got paid more than $150,000 a year. How does that happen?
Well, I mean, a lot of people in political positions are rich. You can't really run a campaign without being rich. And, you know, it's not hard to find out where Pelosi got her money from. You just look that information up. Where did Pelosi get her money? Her husband, Paul, is a successful business owner with degrees from 2 prestigious universities, a bachelor's from Georgetown and an MBA from New York University, NYU. Much of the couple's wealth comes from successful stock trading, which Paul manages via a venture capital firm named Financial Leasing Services. So they're venture capitalists. Here's a little secret about money that a lot of people may not know. When you get money, it's easy to get more of it. Money just flows when you have a certain amount. Getting money is a challenge in the first place, but once you get that money, it just keeps coming. So, anyways, I guess Paul and Nancy probably, you know, got their hands on a good bit of money originally, some seed investment money, and then used that to become a venture capitalist firm and just exploded from there. That's my guess.
Does that happen?
Yet you want to go through this all again.
Because I want to make America great again. We had it great. We had it great. We were respected all over the world.
No, we were not respected all over the world. Do you remember? Remember this?
Today I stand before the United Nations General Assembly to share the extraordinary progress we've made. In less than 2 years, my administration has accomplished more than almost any administration in the history of our country. America's so true.
People laughing at him right now.
Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay.
People laughed at the United States when Trump was in power. People laugh at Trump regularly. Tell us again how we're a laughing stock, please.
Great again. We had it great. We had it great. We were respected all over the world. Very
No.
simple. I want to make America great again.
So, yeah, that was actually the end of it. It's surprising. It was very sudden. I don't know why it happened so suddenly. But just, God, dude, this guy is as cringy as it gets. He's terrible in every way. He has no self-awareness at all, seemingly. How does somebody get to this point where they are so oblivious to what other people think of them? And why, please, somebody tell me, why he has orange skin? I must know. Anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comments. This dude is just the worst. God, please do not let us get him for a second term. Oh, my God. Not again. Anyway, yeah, let me know what you think in the comments.